Hello and welcome to this lecture where we're going to be looking at the piano roll. So we've briefly shown you the piano roll before, but I just want to show you a few of the ways you can open up the piano roll in FL Studio. Firstly, we can click on the icon in the toolbar, and this allows us to open and close the piano roll. You can also use the shortcut function F7 on Mac or F7 on Windows. Or if you have your channel set to the piano roll, you can click on the box in the channel rack to open up the piano roll. Okay, so to demonstrate the piano roll, we're actually going to create a new pattern now. So I'm going to click on the plus sign in the patterns box and just create a new pattern, and I'm going to call this one chords. And let's choose a color for this as well. And I just want to create a new instrument for these chords. So I'm just going to go over to the channel rack and click on this small plus sign here. And I'm just going to choose the instrument Mini Synth, which is under Synth Classic. And for now, we're just going to use this default sound. So let's just close this synth. Now let's change this in the channel rack so it's set to piano roll instead of this step sequencer. So I'm going to right click on Mini Synth and then click on piano roll. I'm also going to full screen this piano roll by hitting enter. So this piano roll is where we can input MIDI information. So as you can see, the vertical piano on the side represents pitch. So it's lower pitch at the bottom and higher pitch at the top. We also have time horizontally with these bar numbers up here. Okay, so now I'm going to show you how you can quickly draw in some MIDI notes. So the main tool that you'll generally use in the piano roll is this draw tool. And this tool is selected by clicking on the pencil icon at the top of the window here. One thing to note before you draw in any MIDI information, make sure you enable Snap to Grid. And we can do this by clicking on this small magnet icon, which is at the top of the piano roll. So for this example, I know that I want each of my chords to be 1 bar long. So I'm going to change the snap setting length to bar. So this means now whenever I draw in a note, it will snap to the start of the bar. So to draw in a MIDI note, all we need to do is left click with this pencil icon. And to delete a note, all we need to do is use the right click. And you can also right click and drag over multiple notes to delete. Okay, so I'm just going to draw in a few more notes now, and then I'll show you how you can resize these. So if you hover the draw tool over the right hand side of a MIDI note, then this arrow icon will appear. And if you click and drag, it will extend the length of your note. As our snap length is set to 1 bar at the moment, this is actually going to extend the note length by 1 bar. So what we can do is we can actually hold down Alt, and this will temporarily disable the snap setting. And now I can finally adjust the length of these notes. Also, if we want to reposition the note, all we need to do is click on the center of the note, and then you can drag them to a new position. And if you want to select multiple notes, just hold down the Command key on Mac or Control key on Windows. And then you can click and drag over the selection you'd like to make. Also, if you want to deselect any highlighted notes, press Command on a Mac or Control on a PC, and then click anywhere where there isn't a MIDI note. One other thing to mention is when you create a new note, the note length will be the same size as the last note that you selected. So for example, if I draw in a new note now, it's the same length as all the other notes I've been working with. However, if I adjust the size of this note, and I'm going to hold down Alt to deselect Snap to change the length of this note, and then if I draw in a new note, it will be the same length as this note that I just selected. And to change the default size of the notes, I just need to click on another note a different length. And now when I draw in a new note, it will be the same length as the note I just clicked on. However, I'm just going to delete these notes now by right-clicking and dragging over these notes. Okay, so now I'm actually going to change the grid setting to something a bit finer than individual bars. So I'm going to go to the magnet up here and change this to half step. Okay, and now you can see there are many more increments where you can actually draw notes into the piano roll. So as you saw there, I drew in a note, but I actually drew it in halfway between the first 16th note and the second 16th note, because we have the snap setting set to half step. So half step is 30-second notes. So here we have a very fine grid setting. And we've also placed this note directly between the first and second 16th notes. At the moment, we can't actually see all of the grid lines as we're not zoomed in enough. However, I'm just going to move this over to the start of the bar by clicking and dragging on the center of this note. So now when I drag the end of this note to resize it, it's going to jump in 30-second note increments due to our snap setting. And if we just zoom in by Command and scrolling on Mac or Control and scrolling on Windows, we can finally adjust the length of the note by holding Alt and clicking and dragging at the end of the note. And now we fine-tune this to the correct length. And if we adjust this now, it's now jumping between the 30-second note increments. And let's just zoom out again by Command and scrolling with Mac or Control and scrolling with Windows. Okay, I'm just going to delete this note again by right-clicking. And now I'm just going to quickly show you the Paint tool. The Paint tool is similar to the Draw tool, as clicking once will input a note, and right-clicking will delete a note. If I click and drag, however, with the Paint tool, it will paint in multiple notes set at the default note length. And I'm just going to right-click to delete these. I'm just going to draw some more notes in now. And if I hold Shift and paint in some notes, this will actually enable monophonic paint mode. So as you can see there, when I painted in a new note, it actually deleted the previous one. So monophonic paint mode means only one note can be played at the same time. So you can't draw in any chords with monophonic paint mode. So this could be useful for a lead part or maybe a bass line. You can also use this paint tool as a select tool if you hold down Command on a Mac or Control on Windows. And this allows you to select and drag over multiple notes. One quick shortcut I'm going to tell you now is pressing Command and the arrow key on a Mac or Control and the arrow key on Windows. And this quickly allows you to shift your notes up or down an octave. Okay, so the next tool we're going to look at is Paint in Drum Sequencer mode. And this is very similar to the Paint mode. So this time, if you click and drag, the note length will be determined by the grid setting. So as you can see there, it's changed the length of the notes. If I change this grid setting again, let's change it to beat. You can see there, it's painted in notes every beat. Another thing you can do with this drum sequencer mode paint is if you hold down Alt and paint in a note. And you can see there, it halved the length of the grid mode setting. Okay, I'm just going to right click and drag over these notes now to delete them. Okay, so the other tools we have at the top here are delete, mute, slice, select, zoom, and playback. And I showed you all of these tools in the playlist lecture. However, in the piano roll, you will generally use the draw tool most of the time. Okay, I'm just going to show you another really handy feature in the piano roll, and that's this stamp tool here. So this feature allows you to actually paint out a chord. So if I draw on this A note here, this will actually play in an A major chord. And now if I choose another type of chord, let's choose minor. And if I select the A note again, this time it will paint in an A minor chord. And you can again right click to delete. So if you're not too confident with writing different chords, this stamp feature can really help. Okay, so now I'm actually going to draw in some chords for this song we're going to create. Something else I just want to show you is if you select multiple notes and press Command B on a Mac or Control B on Windows, it will actually duplicate these notes for you. Okay, so I just quickly drew in a chord progression there. And now if we change this to pattern mode and we hit play, we can listen to this back. We can use the piano roll not just for writing chords, we can write bass lines, melodies, and even drum beats in the piano roll as well. However, just for this example, I wanted to draw in a chord progression. Okay, so that's just a quick overview of the piano roll, where I've shown you the different tools you can use and how you can start to actually add in some MIDI information. In the next lecture, we're going to explore the piano roll even further. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.